Ever done any saltwater fly fishing using a flounder fly? I have, and this fly is a ripper. Stay tuned. G'day everyone, welcome to another edition of In Nature's Realm. Now, as I said last time, I was going to tie in the next episode, so this episode, a saltwater fly that's really challenging. And it is challenging, it's time consuming, but God, what a fly. The fly is called the Flounder Around. Now, I don't know who actually tied this fly, but I'm pretty sure it was someone from New Zealand, but I'm not quite sure. Again, if anyone knows any information on that, that'd be great. But what a fly this is. It's just great for fly fishing in the surf. When I was going up to Queensland, I've done quite a few fly fishing trips up to Queensland, and when I was fishing in the surf, into the sand, it was a great fly. I used to catch flathead, tailor, a whole host of different fish. It was just incredible. So you can really fish this fly in a number of different saltwater situations, and it basically imitates a baby flounder. Simple as that. And as you can see here, we have the actual fly here, and I'll show that up on, in the close vision, and you'll see that this is a really good representation of a flounder, a baby size flounder. And that's the thing about this fly. The disadvantage of it is it becomes very air resistant when we cast it with our fly rod and our fly line. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you have a short leader. Make sure you create very wide loops, and I would practice with this fly first before using your really good fly rod. Alright, use an old fly rod so that you get used to casting this fly, and that's why you need to tie it small. If you tie it big, it's going to be very, very hard to cast, but in a small size with the right casting stroke, you won't have a problem. And it is a great fly. It's got a little weight, dumbbell weights on the bottom, which enables it to sink down to the sand. You just need to give it a bit of a weight and then give it a few twitches, making sure that it's rubbing on the sand there. So this is the fly, the Flounder Around. So let's start to tie this fly, the Flounder Around, and materials you'll need will be up above me, and we'll first start off with a Gamakatsu #1 hook there. It's not a big #1, it's not a 1/0, it's a 1. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller than a 1/0, which is what we want. So we'll put it into the vise. Okay, there, nice and tight. And now the next, what you need there is your thread, 6/0 in a white colour. Okay, so I'll start that off right just below the eye of the hook. Now when we wind this onto the actual shank. Make sure you create a good covering of thread, because it needs to grip to the foam that we're about to use. So we'll cut away the excess. And advance down to the end of the hook. Stopping at the barb there. Okay, now the next material we'll need is Krystal Flash. Alright, now Krystal Flash comes in a number of colours. As you can see here, this is a green typey pearl colour, and we need to have just a small bunch, not too big. Cut ourselves off a bunch there. Make sure the ends are even. Judge it to be, that's probably about right, a sort of like about a matchstick in width. And we tie that in. Give yourself a little bit of length to come past the actual back of the body of the fly. We tie that in. Like so. We cut away the excess. Alright, now the next material we'll need is Millet Flank feathers. Okay, now later on we're going to use the Millet Flank feathers as part of the actual body of the fly, but at the base of these feathers you have a very what you call soft material. It's sort of like the waste material. And a lot of times you'll strip it away and not use it when you tie flies, but here we can use it. So there you can see we've got a bunch of the actual feather there, and we'll tie that in, giving ourselves as much length as we can around about that point there. Tie it down. And then we'll cut away the excess. Alright, so that's the tail of the actual fly. And those fluff, or the base of those feathers, is very soft material, so in the water it'll really come alive and add to the attraction of the actual fly. And what we do is we advance our thread back to the eye of the hook, and let's fill up that shank with as much thread as we can, just so that we've got a nice gripping material to the foam that we're going to use soon. Alright, so now we're at the eye of the hook. Now, for the body, you'll need foam, and these ones is called thin fly foam, 2 millimeters thick, and it's in the brown colour. Now you can get brown on top and white on the bottom, which is what I've actually got here. There's your brown foam there, okay? It's just a square sheet, and what you do is you, well, I get one of my other flounder flies, and I'll pencil around it to get a template for it. But when you first start off, you're just going to have to create the shape and the size of the body that you require. So I've already cut one up, and as you can see, this one has a brown body and a white under surface, which is really good, and it's to the shape of a flounder to the best. It doesn't have to be really perfect. Just get it roughly like that, because we're going to have feathers come on the edge or come out from the edge, which will hide the actual shape of the actual body. So yeah, so that's the next requirement. Now what we need now is, before we get onto the body, we need to put in the dumbbell eye. Alright, now the dumbbell eye is to add weight to the fly to get it down. So at this point here, we take our dumbbell eye and we will now tie that in position on the fly. And we do a figure of 8 turns. And bang, bang, bang. And then we'll come and go around the base. Alright? So what that does, it tightens it up more. And a couple more figure of 8s. And that's solid as. Beautiful. So now we whip finish, because everything else is going to be the foam on top, and that doesn't require any more fly tying thread. Okay, so we do our whip finish. And then cut that away. Alright, so we've got the tail of the flounder fly, we've got the weight at the eye of the hook there, and now we need to attach the body. What we do is we take the fly out of the vise, we take our foam. Now what we need to do is to make sure that the brown is going to be in that position where the hook will be on top. Alright, so what we do is we will punch a hole, and we need to judge this. Alright, we don't want the front of the foam coming out too far, so we're judging probably around about there. We pierce it with the point of the hook. We judge the size there. And that's pretty good. You might need to fiddle around with that, but we want to make sure that the tail is showing. We've got that tail out there. Now if you do make a mistake, it's no big deal, because the holes that we create, if we create 2 or 3 holes, it's going to be hidden by the feather that's going to go on top, so you won't see the actual, and the bottom as well, so it'll be all hidden later on in the making of the fly. Okay, so now we need to turn the fly around and then hold it in that position there, and then we take some super glue. Now this is really just temporary hold, because it all holds the place when we put later on the epoxy and also the acrylic paint. So we lift up the foam there and we get some of the super glue and then put it along the hook shank there, right to the bend, and then we put it into place. Make sure we put the top on the old super glue. And then line her up so she's nice and straight, and then press it tight. sure the tail is nice and no glue on it. Alright, so there we have the foam in position for the fly. Now, next requirement is to use mallard flank feathers. Alright, it's got to be flank feathers. Don't try any others. Right? And we need a large one when we do select it. But before we do, we need to put a layer of epoxy on the actual foam. Alright, so we take our epoxy. There's two-part epoxy. This is the hardener of the epoxy, and this one is the resin. Okay. Now, what I like to do, I bought myself this cutting board. It's a glass cutting board, and it's great for two reasons. One, it keeps everything nice and tidy. You're not getting glue or the resin and the hardener all over the place. And you buy yourself a heap of toothpicks, and this is your mixing stick. Alright, so we take our toothpicks and then we get our hardener, and what we do is we just put a little dab on the cutting board. And for this part we only want a little dab, not much at all. Right, just a touch like that. That's the actual hardener, and then the resin, have the least amount because then it'll dry quicker. So, and this can really hard to get out. Whoa, it's a bit too much. God, I should that, didn't I? Alright. Take about that much there with that, maybe a little bit more, and then mix it together. And when the resin and the hardener mix together, there's your epoxy coating. So once you've given it a good mix, take a bunch of it or a dab of it on your toothpick, and then put it on the surface of the foam. Now, as it says, it's a 5-minute epoxy, so you've got 5 minutes to get it done, or what you will need to get done in that stage. Alright, so I've done that. Now we take our mallard flank feather. You need to select a big size feather for the job, and we'll take a bit of going through it. Oh, there's a beauty there. Alright. Oh, that one's better. Oh no. Go that one again. Okay, so there you can see that's going to cover the whole body, and it's the pattern on the mallard flank feather that gives the beautiful effect of a flounder. It's incredible. It's so imitates it so well. It's incredible. So we'll take away the soft material at the base, and then what we do is we put that on to the surface, and we'll get our bobbin needle to help us out. There he is, hidden amongst everything there. We can slide that a bit forward. That's good. Now, cut away the stem. Alright, now what I like to do while it's still wet is to grab another flank feather and take away all the soft material there, cut away the stem, and grab a bunch of the fibres, tear them off, and then just put them on the edge. Around like that. Beautiful. And then again on the other side. Get our dubbing needle. And it's still tacky and it'll still stick there. What that does, it gives us more fibres out to the edge of the actual fly. Awesome. Alright, now our next requirement and our next material is stick-on eyes. Now these stick-on eyes need to be very small. These ones are a flat stick-on eyes, 1/8 silver prism. Okay, you can buy these at any of the tackle shops. Aussie Angler has a great range of fly tying materials, so that'd be my recommendation. Also, Complete Fly Fisher in the city, they also have a great range of fly tying materials. So now we take these eyes and this is probably the most fiddliest part of the whole tying of this fly. What I like to do is put it on the end of the dubbing needle, and you've got more control over it, and try and put it in the best position as you can. That seems not too bad. Get another one. Again, put it on the end of your dubbing needle and put it in position. Now you've got to judge the eyes up so it looks nice and straight. I don't think the fish worry about it, but fly fishermen do. And pat them down, and they're in position. Excellent. Let you have a look at that. Now, next thing, on all flounder, if you catch any flounders, they've got lots of spots on them. So what we do there is we take a black permanent marker, and this one's got a really fine point, and we put in tiny dots don't go overboard, just do it to the required amount there. Now, let that dry, and then what we do next is we get some more epoxy resin, and this application or this next layer of epoxy is what makes this fly look insane and look so real. It's just amazing. So let's do that now. Again, we take our epoxy resin on the cutting board and we give ourselves a good amount. Alright, that's not too bad. Now, put more hardener than resin, because when you put more hardening epoxy with the resin, it'll dry quicker, and we do need that surface to dry. If you put more resin, it then tends to take a fair amount of time to dry. So just probably half that amount, and it's very hard to do. And then we get ourselves a toothpick. Now, this toothpick system's great because once you use it once, you just throw it away, it doesn't matter. And you can buy, I don't know, 500 in there or something. It's incredible. So let's mix that together. Really give it a good mix. And then take a dollop and then put it gently on their eyes, starting at their eyes first. Another dollop there. Now try not to go out along the edges too far, because those fibres that we've got on the edges, we want them to basically pulsate in the water as much as we can. Very fiddly, but when you finish it, it's so rewarding, let me tell you. Alright, give it a bit of a spin around just to even that epoxy up, and I'll show you what it looks like right now. Make sure too that it's nice and even all over the surface there, and as you can see in the close-up shot, it looks just incredible, it really does, and it's the epoxy that really does that. It's amazing. So the final step now is to do the acrylic paint on the bottom. So we use a acrylic paint here, but we'll wait for this to dry. So with the power of editing, we'll come back in a minute when it's nice and dry, and we'll do the acrylic painting of the bottom of the fly. Alright, now we're going to put on the acrylic paint or apply it to the bottom of the fly now that it's nice and dry. Now I've got acrylic paint, any acrylic paint you can use, or any brand. This is the one I use. And again, we use our toothpicks and we'll apply some of the paint to the actual fly. Just a little bit at the start. Take your toothpick and then just basically spread it around. So we want to cover the dumbbell eyes on the side there, and we spread it out over the foam. It's about as much acrylic paint as we need. We just need to smooth it out. Just makes it a better looking fly. And it aids in the overall construction of the fly, holding everything into place. It's like extra. The great thing about acrylic paint too is it washes off just with water. It's great. Alright, so as you can see, there's the bottom of the fly, and that is the Flounder Around. Strange title for a fly, but yeah, that's what it's called. The Flounder Around. And what a pattern, guys. This really works well along beaches and such. And I no doubt you could fish at a number of different other places where in the salt water where flounder exists. It's a really good representation of a baby flounder, small flounder, and yeah, can highly recommend it, guys. Just another thing before we do go, the great thing about this cutting board with the epoxy and working with it, the reason why I use a glass cutting board is because all you need to do to clean it up is to get a razor blade and just scrape it all off, and then it's ready for the next time you need to use it. Really good idea there. So that is the flounder fly I wanted to show you, and I'd just like to also say hello to Malcolm Robertson out there. He's a great watcher of my videos. Thank you very much, Malcolm. And I'd also like to say that we had a comment from, I think it was Daryl, and Daryl wants to tie the bag fly. Well, that's going to be in the next episode, the bag fly, showing you how to tie that fly, and that'll be a ripper to watch. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching this episode of Fly Fishing in Nature's Realm, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.